Disney is a multi-billion-dollar company with 55 movies produced, 387 stores over the world, and 11 theme parks. But what Disney is arguably most well known for are their princesses. The first Disney princess movie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, came out in 1937, and since then there have been 14 Disney princesses from all walks of life, with the most recent princess only set to take the big screen in November 2016. Ever since the creation of Disney princesses, there have been those who argue that the princesses have a negative impact on impressionable young girls who watch the movies. The Disney movies, displayed to viewers of all ages, not only convey themes, symbols, and conflict through its dialogue. These movies project the stereotypes and expectations that society enforces on people in modern day. While many parents feel the culture of Disney princess stories is safe for their early adolescents to view, studies are conducted to find the reality of it. Child Development published a story which noted the negative effects that Disney princesses place upon young girls. This study was led by author Sarah Coyne. Along with her team, she placed 198 preschool and kindergarten-aged girls and boys in the study. The results of this study showed that 96% of girls and 87% of boys viewed Disney princess media. 61% of girls also played with princess toys at least once a week, while 4% of boys did. Terminating this study, Coyne found that the more the boys and girls interacted with flawless princesses, the greater the increase in female gender stereotypical behavior.
The early Disney princesses are notorious for following sexist stereotypes. One of the earliest Disney princesses, Snow White, highlights gender roles that men should work and provide for the family.
Hi-ho, it's home from work we go. Hi-ho, 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 it's home from work we go. Hi-ho, 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 hi-ho.
While women stay at home and do their domestic duties.
We'll clean the house and surprise them. Then maybe they'll let me stay.
Not to mention, this story displays issues of consent as Prince Ferdinand kisses Snow White as she's unconscious. Furthermore, Beauty and the Beast normalizes intimate partner violence as the movie passes off Beast's violently erratic behavior as a short temper, and enforces strict rules such as Belle not being allowed to explore some parts of the house.
Oh, don't do that. Just hold still.
That hurts!
If you'd hold still, it wouldn't hurt as much.
Well, if you hadn't have run away, this wouldn't have happened.
If you hadn't frightened me, I wouldn't have run away.
Well, you shouldn't have been in the West Wing!
Well, you should learn to control your temper.
The Disney princesses are not just ordinary girls. They're models for the modernized first world perceptions of perfection. Each princess's story revolves around her boldness and heroic actions. However, in order to achieve the goal of a specific audience, the princesses' cultures and actual stories have been so-called perfected by Disney. The story of Hua Mulan, originally known as the Ballad of Mulan, has been empowering women in China for centuries. Originally, Mulan was taught by her father how to fight at a young age. Not only does her family fully support Mulan going to war, but Mulan returns 12 years later to finally retire and refuses to be rewarded. Her purpose for going to war was because she wanted to fight, not because she needed to prove herself. Whether her story is a legend or a historical event, Chinese people were able to show the strength of a woman and give hope to young girls by folklore, rather than implying that women are weak and need to prove themselves worthy. The story of Aladdin has been so made over that only a few of the original story parts remain in the Disney perfected movie. In reality, Aladdin took place in pre-Islamic Arabia, which was still dominated by Abrahamic religions such as Christianity and Judaism. These religions impacted Arabia as Islam does today. In the movie, Princess Jasmine wears blue harem pants and a blue blouse, showing off her hair, arms, and her tiny waist. In the original story, Aladdin falls in love with a fully covered princess and when he catches sight of her face by accident. Historically, women wore loose, modest clothing, even before Islam was introduced. Disney was able to easily sugarcoat the story of Pocahontas, the Native American woman who is historically known for standing up against her chief and father, Powhatan, in order to save the life of John Smith. In the movie, the man also becomes her love interest. In reality, she is taken away from home to become civilized in Europe. Disney not only altered her story, but also altered her look. In Native American culture, both men and women are decorated with tattoos in forms of symbols, which read their accomplishments and protected them from spiritual harm. Disney took away a huge part of this culture by omitting this from the characters.
The villains in Disney princess movies also reflect the values placed on beauty, youth, and thinness. While the villains arguably have the most diversity in how they are animated, some common archetypes are that they are old, ugly, and or overweight. Creating the association between these physical traits and the evil role pushes that association onto the children who watch. In Tangled, for example, the villain Mother Gothel's main motivation is to stay young and beautiful, even if it means exploiting Rapunzel and holding her captive. Also, the main villain of The Little Mermaid, Ursula, is depicted as overweight, again contributing to the association between weight and evil. In Snow White, the evil queen was even willing to commit murder to remain the most beautiful woman in the kingdom, showing the priority on which being beautiful is held. One of her most lasting impressions from the movie is when she is depicted as an old, wrinkled hag, tricking Snow White into eating the poisoned apple. Over the years, the animation of Disney princesses has followed a fairly similar mold, with unrealistic figures, impossibly smooth hair, and voluptuous busts. While there are some exceptions to this cookie-cutter animation such as Pocahontas and Mulan, as well as some of the more recent princesses such as Merida, the majority of the classic and most well-known princesses fit these standards. These standards are then shown to the young children who watch the movies, which are usually girls. One of the main criticisms of Disney princesses over the years is that they perpetrate a strict and idealistic body type, leaving girls with long-lasting body image issues. The Disney princesses are animated with impossibly thin waists that could not fit a human rib cage, eyes so large and bright they might as well be googly eyes, smooth, pale skin that most models would envy, and impossibly slim proportions that realistically would leave them unable to function. These representations put pressure on the young girls who watch these movies, unintentionally priming them to be more receptive to these standards and ideals as they continue to be bombarded with images of how they should look while growing and maturing. That being said, there has been a push by Disney to create characters whose animation is somewhat more realistic. Merida, the princess in the fairly recent movie Brave, is one of these examples. She is depicted with wild, frizzy red hair that gets in her face and defies the laws of physics. She is also depicted with freckles and minimal makeup, which makes sense as she's supposed to be a young girl who spends most of her days riding through the forest. In addition, her proportions are not as ridiculous as some of the most classic princesses. That being said, when Merida's doll was first released, she was given smoothed hair and slimmer proportions, undercutting the success of a more realistic-looking princess. The trend of more realistic princesses was continued with the newest Disney princess, Moana. Also a young girl, she is given minimal makeup, sturdy limbs, realistic hair, and realistic body proportions.
Without a doubt, Disney has come a long way from the beginning of the princesses, and has already begun to manifest realistic physical features and accurate cultural backstories to their newer princesses. It can only go up from here.
Under the sea, darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me.